So let's start with today's class. Yeah. So if there is any difficulty with my audio or video, just try to stop me so that we can resolve the issue. Yeah. As we did in last Thursday, we were discussing sampling, and we discussed basic sampling technique like the impulse sampling and flat top sampling, and then recovery in the frequency domain. Then I said at the end of the class that we are left with two topics for your midsem. One is reconstruction of sampled signals into a continuous time signal using interpolation, and another is aliasing. So anyway, your exam must be over now, right? Like your midsem exams must be over now. So what we will do is that those two topics, it will take one class for those two topics. Like not even 2 hours. It will take 1 hour. Like one is reconstruction as interpolation and aliasing, and then the band pass sampling. So these topics we will cover at the end of this course, because anyway the midsem is over for you, the exam is over, and it's not of use immediately. It should be taught to you before the final exams, definitely, but not right. So today we'll start with unit 4, which is linear time invariant systems and their analysis. Because unit 4, 5, and 6 will be your next exam and then final exam that will be covered, right? So we are starting with unit 4. So I'm not writing the full title: LTI systems and their analysis. So LTI stands for linear time invariant. You will see that. So today we'll be starting with this, and then the very first topic in this will be representation of a signal. So the very first topic is representation of signal as a scaled. Okay, I need not write in detail. Representation of a signal through unit impulse. Then we will do the impulse response, and then finally we'll decide what is linear and what is time invariant, right? Yeah. So let's start with this topic: representation of a signal through unit impulse. Like, so what we wanted to do, see, is that given any signal, whether discrete or continuous signal, we want to express that signal as a linear combination of unit impulses. So unit impulse is delta t, right? Delta of t, an impulse signal. Delta of t in continuous time and delta of n in discrete time. So to understand this, let's first discuss about. It's easy to understand first in the discrete time domain, and then we will go to continuous time domain. See, this discrete signal analysis is not much in your syllabus. It is only in jet transforms. While discussing jet transforms, we will discuss more about discrete time signals. But let's hear. So to say, I'll call it 1, 2, 3. Let's start with discrete time. Right. So in discrete time signals, what is unit impulse? Unit impulse is 1 delta of n, that is equal to 1 when n is equal to 0, and is 0 otherwise. Right. So that meaning in discrete time signals, your x-axis, your independent variable is n, where n is 0, 1, 2, and so on, -1, -2, -3, and so on. And your unit impulse is something like this. So its value is 1 only at 0. So this is your unit impulse, right? So we want to, for example, if we are given a signal x of n, right, and we want to express this x of n as a linear combination of scaled and shifted impulses. So let's see that. So consider x of n. So consider the following x of n. This is 0. This is -1, -2, -3. Say this its amplitude is -9, and its amplitude is -4, and its amplitude is -1, and at 0 this is 0, and at 1, 2, 3. So this is n, this is x of n. So this is 1, this is 4. This is just one example we are taking. We are taking an example signal, and say at all other values it is 0. So at all other values it is 0. Say this is the x of n. So we want to represent this x of n as a scaled and shifted, as a sum of scaled and shifted impulses. We wanted to represent x of n as scaled as a sum of scaled and shifted unit impulses. Right? See, this discrete time signals, it is not immediately in your current unit. As I said, the syllabus, it will be in your Z transforms. So when I discuss Z transforms, we need not discuss this again. Why I am discussing discrete time signals now is, it is easy for you to first understand discrete, and then if we go to continuous time domain, it will be easy for you to understand. So this x of n, now I wanted to represent using unit impulses. So I can represent this as, see, if I write we know that recall that delta of n minus k is delta of n shifted to n is equal to k, right? So if k is this is your delta of n minus k. If k is positive, if k is negative, so say delta of n minus 3 is this. So what I can do is I'm making some space for this. So I can write this x of n as minus 9 into delta of n plus 3. Like there is an impulse at n is equal to minus 3 and it is being multiplied by minus 9, right? Here there is an impulse at n is equal to minus 3. So I'm constructing there is an impulse at n equal to minus 3 and its height will be minus 9 plus minus 4 into delta of n plus 2. So there is an impulse at n equal to minus 2 and its amplitude is minus 4 plus minus 1 into delta of n plus 1 plus 0 to delta of n plus what about this? This I can write this as 1 into delta of n minus 1. There is an impulse at n is equal to 1. So that means this is at n equal to 1, there is an impulse with amplitude 1 plus 4 multiplied by delta of n minus 2 plus 9 multiplied by delta of n minus 3. So this is an impulse at n equal to minus 3, its amplitude is minus 9. So this is this, and this is n equal to minus 2, there is an impulse and its amplitude is minus 4. This is this. So at n equal to minus 1, there is an impulse with amplitude minus 1. So we catered to this, and at n equal to 0, there is no impulse, so it is multiplied with 0. Then at n equal to 1, we have an impulse with amplitude 1. This is also done. So at n equal to 2, there is an amplitude of 4, and finally at n equal to 3, there is an impulse of amplitude 9. So thus, of course, this is a simple thing, so that's why I can quickly complete this. X of n can be expressed as a sum of scaled and shifted unit impulses, right? See that the unit impulses are being shifted in time to the left or to the right. The unit impulses are being shifted in time to the left or to the right, and they are being scaled, and they are being scaled by minus n here, minus 4 here, minus 1 here. So in other words, x of n we are expressing as a weighted linear combination of unit impulses, or as a weighted linear combination of unit impulses, right? So this is pretty straightforward. Like you can write this in 1 minute, like if given any discrete time signal. So now we understand that any discrete time signal can be expressed as a weighted linear combination of discrete time unit impulses, or as a sum of scaled and shifted unit impulses, discrete time unit impulses. Now with this intuition, let's go to continuous time domain, continuous time signals. As I said, our intention is to mainly analyze the continuous time systems here in this unit. Right? Now, let's consider continuous time signals. And then we wanted to represent a continuous time signal as a linear combination of continuous time signals as sum of scaled and shifted continuous time unit impulses. So what is continuous time unit impulse? You must be, you will be knowing, you know this already from our. So it is 1 for t is equal to 0, and it is 0 otherwise, right? So okay, so and you know that delta of t is an idealization of a narrow and narrower pulse, a pulse occupying almost zero, a pulse occupying zero area, but sorry, zero width, but having finite area. So its height goes to infinity, and its width goes to 0. So anyway, we just wanted to represent this more rigorously. So consider, in case of continuous time systems, it is not so straightforward when people started analyzing these continuous time signals, and when they tried to represent this in terms of continuous time unit impulses. Right? Consider x of t. So let's consider some x of t. Which is something like this. Like you can consider any x of t just for convenience. We'll take, say this is x of t. Let's construct staircase approximation. Oh, okay. Just wait a minute. Yeah. So sorry, I just need to go back and just write one equation here. So it is, so this x of n, I can write this as x of k delta of n minus k, k equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay. So yeah, so sorry for going back again. Just one minor point. You can see this readily. See, this -9 here is nothing but value of x at -3. So this is value of x at -2, and this is value of x at -1. This is value of x at 0. So this is value of x at 1. This is x of 2, and this is x of 3, right? So it is basically x of -3 into delta of n plus 3, x of -2 into delta of n plus 2, and so on. So what I'm trying to express as x of n as x of k delta of n minus k. So x of n as summation x of k delta of n minus k. See, ideally it is k is equal to -infinity to +infinity. Here k is for k equal to -3 to +3 only. These are non-zeros. For any other value of k lower than -3 or higher than +3, xk values are zeros. So I just wanted to remind you, I just wanted to write this equation because we will get another equation in continuous time domain which is very similar to this. Right? So now x of n we are representing as a sum of shifted impulses. Each shifted impulse is being scaled with x of k. Yeah. So what I did was I simply wrote this long equation into a short notation. Like I just wrote this into a compact form. Right. Okay. So see, hope you have noted this. We haven't done anything new. We just expressed this long equation as a short compact equation. So remember this because we will derive similar equation. Yeah. So let's consider. Okay. So this is x of t, and we will be doing staircase approximation to x of t. That meaning. That delta of t is equal to 1 over delta for elsewhere. Right? Okay. So we are considering an impulse. So that means we are considering this signal. So it is having constant value from 0 to delta, and its height is 1 over delta. So this is called, see, this is also delta, this is also delta, right? So this is lowercase delta, this is uppercase delta. Okay, so we are considering this signal, and then when note that amplitude of delta multiplied by delta of t is equal to 1, right? So its height is 1 over delta, and when I'm multiplying that with delta, it becomes 1. So if I consider the signal delta multiplied by delta suffix capital delta of t, its amplitude is equivalent to 1, right? Yeah. So now let's consider representing this x of t in terms of these narrow rectangular pulses, right? So in terms of these narrow rectangular pulses, so I can and if we do that, we will get a staircase approximation. So how do we do that? Say at so okay, so we'll draw. Okay, we'll change the color and then this. So it's like say this is delta. So this is 2 delta and this is 3 delta and so on. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to express this continuous time signal x of t as a weighted linear combination of this delta delta of t signals, right? So here what happens is so here it becomes so we can express this as so what I'm trying to do is so this is delta delta of t multiplied by the amplitude of x of t at delta, right? So then again this pulse, okay, so what I'm trying to do is something like this. So x of t we are trying to do as x of 0 multiplied by delta delta of t plus delta delta of t minus delta plus like I have this basic rectangular pulse. This I am shifting by delta units, and then at that the height of this impulse should be okay. It should be delta. At that, so the height of delta delta of t minus delta into delta is 1. So the height of this entire signal is 1. That I am multiplying with the height of x value at that. So similarly, I am shifting it by 2 delta units and then multiplying with value of x of 2 delta and x of 3 delta and t minus 3 delta and so on. So on the negative side, similarly, it will be delta of t plus delta into x of minus delta and so on and so forth, right? So in other words, we are trying to represent this as x of k delta into t delta to delta k equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. So that meaning, so this is a rectangular pulse shifted by k delta units in time, right? And this is value of x of t at t equal to k delta, and you should also note that the amplitude of this entire signal, amplitude is equal to 1. See, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to express this diagram in mathematics. That's it. So there is a continuous time signal x of t. We are trying to represent in terms of rectangular, narrow rectangular pulses, delta delta of t. So as you know, this is delta delta of t multiplied with value of x of t at 0. This narrow pulse is multiplied with value of x of t at delta, and this narrow pulse is multiplied with value of x of t at 2 delta, and so on. So this equation, that diagram can be expressed as something like this, right? So now we have expressed x of t as a weighted linear combination of a rectangular pulse, or scaled and shifted as a sum of scaled and shifted versions of a rectangular pulse. Now, what happens as delta goes to 0? See, as delta goes to 0, the width of this pulse becomes smaller and smaller, and the height of this pulse becomes higher and higher. But the overall area of this pulse remains 1, right? So what is the area of this pulse? 1 over delta into delta, that is equal to 1. So if I decrease this delta towards 0, this pulse width becomes smaller and smaller. It goes to 0. The pulse width goes to 0 as delta goes to 0, and the pulse height goes to infinity. But the overall area of the pulse remains 1. So area is an indication of the energy, right? The energy in the signal is related to area of the area under the signal. So that remains 1. Okay, that is what happens to this delta of t. And now, as the delta goes to 0, this approximation becomes better and better. Okay, here there is a correction. So here I call this as x hat of t. So this is studied as x hat because this symbol is called hat. It looks like a hat, right? So as this x hat of t is an approximation of, so let me write that first. X hat of t is the staircase approximation of x of t as delta goes to 0. The approximation becomes better. So you can see that limit in the limit delta goes to 0, x hat of t is in the limit delta goes to 0, x of k delta to delta delta of t minus k delta, k equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. So this entire signal becomes almost equivalent to x of t, right? So as delta goes to 0, x hat of t approaches x of t. As delta approaches, so as delta approaches 0, x hat of t approaches x of t. That's what I'm trying to say. See, and so as delta becomes almost 0, so these things becomes this becomes an impulse signal, right? So this delta of t becomes a discrete time unit impulse, and then so let note that as delta goes to 0, delta of t becomes delta of t. Okay, so let me write all these equations just again. Limit delta of t x hat of t, that is limit delta goes to 0, x of k delta delta of k minus, sorry, this should be, it's wrong, so this is e minus k delta into delta. Yeah, so now the final twist is something like this. As delta goes to 0, this equation, in this equation, this summation becomes integral, and this delta of t becomes simple delta of t. So finally this becomes integral minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau delta of t minus tau deta. So see what here you should get convinced that this as delta goes to 0, so as delta goes to 0, the summation, the sigma term becomes integral. See, we can explain this with 2 to 3 diagrams, but it is intuitively clear, right? Like, see, the explanation of this is through diagrams, which is given in any textbook, whether Oppenheim, Wilsky, or Simon Hakin, or any other standard book. But that explanation is time consuming. That's why I'm just skipping that. You can draw the diagram of x of k delta, that staircase approximation here, and then consider only one staircase in that, like consider only a portion of the signal at t is equal to some k delta, and then carefully analyze these two equations geometrically, like through diagrams, not through maths, but mainly through diagrams, and then we can explain that the summation becomes integral. But I don't think we need that much explanation here, because it is fairly intuitively clear that when as delta goes to 0 here, the summation can be replaced with an integral, because the delta becomes infinitesimally small, right? So the delta becomes more and more small, so we call it infinitesimally small, and then we get finally this integral equation. So here, what are we doing? Here x of t is being, so here x of t is being represented as, integral is nothing but summation, right? Like it's kind of as a sum of shifted and scaled impulses. So the okay, so let me write that delta of t minus tau is a shifted impulse. It's being multiplied, it's being scaled or multiplied with x of tau d tau, right? Here the impulse, the shifted impulse x of t minus tau is being multiplied with x of tau d tau. So that's how that x of t is being expressed as a sum of scaled and shifted impulses. Thus we are expressing sorry thus we can express a continuous time signal x of t as weighted linear combination of weighted linear combination of impulses, right? So yeah, so what did we do? We used this approach of delta, and then yeah, in fact x of tau. Okay, so uh, just as a final step, let's examine this equation. X of t we are expressing as integral minus infinity to plus infinity, x of tau delta of t minus tau d tau, right? Okay, so we can perhaps giving another interpretation of this equation also helps you, because see in discrete time signals it is fairly straightforward for you to understand how any signal x of n can be represented as a sum of unit impulses, but in continuous time signals this takes little bit of a time, like uh, okay. And one more thing we wanted to say is that this is nothing but a convolution integral. Okay, so anyway, we'll come to this convolution integral a bit later. So let's see this. See here, the variable is tau, right? So let's consider. I'm just trying to interpret this equation, right? As the variable is tau, let's put our independent variable as I'm trying to, okay, So consider the right hand side. If I consider right hand side, tau is my independent variable. So independent variable is tau, and delta of t minus, so this is delta of t minus tau. So delta of t minus tau is nothing but delta of minus tau plus t, right? So I can write delta of t minus tau as delta of minus tau plus t. So this is nothing but delta of minus tau shifted in time by t units. So that will be something like this. So this is my t minus tau, right? See, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to interpret this equation in another way, so that you will get a clear understanding of how to represent a continuous time signal as a weighted linear combination of shifted impulses. So in the right hand side, the variable is tau, like so I'm considering, so this we are considering this tau as the independent variable. So when I consider tau as the variable, I should draw a diagram with x-axis labeled as tau. So then delta of t minus tau is delta of minus tau plus t. So that means this is delta of minus tau shifted in time by t units. So what is delta of minus tau? That is also equivalent to 1 when tau is equal to 0 and it is 0 otherwise. So here we are plotting delta of tau. We are treating tau. Okay, anyway, I have written this tau as the independent variable, right? So no need to write this again. Yeah. Okay, so this is delta of t minus tau, that is being multiplied by x of tau, right? So this is being multiplied by x of tau. So this x of tau is nothing but, okay, so tau and this is x of tau. So this gives us what, when I multiply these two. So on the right hand side we are multiplying these two, and I multiply these two, I'll get what is the value here? This is x of t, right? So this is what exactly we did in sampling also, right? So when we wanted to sample, we took unit impulses and then we multiplied the continuous time signal with the series of unit impulses, and we got the samples. So here what I'm trying to say is that x of t is, you decompose that into x of t plus some delta, x of t plus 2 delta, x of t plus 3 delta, and so on, and then multiply with unit impulses shifted by delta, 2 delta, 3 delta. So that's what is this. right? So yeah, so I suggest you to just look at one of the textbooks, any textbook. This is a simple explanation of how to express a continuous time signal as a weighted linear combination of continuous time unit impulses. So now, having represented that, we'll move to the impulse response of a system, and then here I want to take just a 2 minutes break. I'll be back exactly in 2 minutes. Right? I'm just keeping my video and audio in mute, and I'll be online. Uh, so so I think we discussed what is we call the definition of a linear system, right? So as you know, in this course we will be considering signals and systems, but till now we considered only signals. So now we will be starting our analysis of systems. We'll be discussing about mainly the linear and time invariant systems. Of course, we'll also define what is the time invariant and all these things. But a system can be represented as a black box, right? So if say this is a system, it takes an input, typically x of t, and it produces an output y of t, and we call a system as a linear system if it satisfies the superposition property, right? Uh, say okay, so if the response of the system, response meaning output, if the response of the system to x1 of t is y1 of t, that means if I give x1 of t as the input, I'll get y1 of t, and response of the system to x2 of t is y2 of t. Then for a linear system, if the system is linear, then response to some a into x1 of t plus b into x2 of t is a into y1 of t plus b into y2 of t, right? So if a system satisfies this property, we call that system as a linear system, right? So in diagrammatically, how can we say let's represent this system as, if I give x1 of t, I get y1 of t. If I give x2 of t as the input, I get y2 of t as the output. So what we are saying is that if we give a linear combination of these inputs as x1 of t plus bx2 of t to this system, then the output will be linear combination of previous outputs, by2 of t. See here, a and b are constants. A is some constant. It can be a real number or a complex number or whatever, right? So a is some number and b is some number. So if we give a linear combination of the inputs, we will get a corresponding linear combination of the outputs. So such a system is called linear system. Now let's consider linear systems and go ahead. Okay, so consider a linear system whose response to delta of t is h of t. See, there is a linear system. So there is a linear system, and to that, if I give input as a unit impulse, I'll get output as some other signal h of t, right? So h of t is the response to the unit impulse. So h of t is the response of the system to the unit impulse, and hence this h of t is called impulse response of the system, right? So if there is a system, consider there is a system, and if we give delta of t as the input, if it produces h of t as the output, then that h of t is called impulse response of the system. Hence, h of t is called the impulse response of the system, right? So if I give delta of t, I get output as h of t. Like the system response to delta of t is h of t. What is delta of t? It's an unit impulse. So that's why we call such h of t as impulse response of the system, right? So yeah, in fact, okay, so consider a system whose I can simply, it need not even be a linear system. Yeah, so strike out the word linear from here. So consider a system whose response to delta of t is h of t, then h of t is called the impulse response of the system. Okay, so we simply have a system whose output is h of t whenever we give delta of t. So h of t is called the impulse response of the system. There is nothing to do with linearity, right? So definition. Impulse response of a system is simply response produced by the system when the input is the unit impulse. The input is the unit impulse delta of t, right? Now, so okay, so hope you have noted down. Now I have a system whose output is h of t when delta of t is given, and what happens if I give delta of t minus tau? Okay, so we know that when I give the input, so this is delta of t, this is t, so this is the input. This input produces an output something like this. Say for example, just as an example, I'm taking h of t as something like this. So this is a response to delta of t. So now if I give an impulse at tau, right? So its output will represent this as h tau of t. Okay, so okay, when delta of t as the input, its output is h of t, and when delta of t minus tau is the input, its output is h tau of t, h tau of t. So its output depends on tau, on tau. So the output depends on tau as well as t. Now consider that the system, or assume that the system okay so this is h tau of t, and we don't know what it is. It can be some impulse. It can be some signal, right? The system is linear. Let x of t equal to minus infinity to plus infinity, x of tau delta of t minus tau t tau is the input to such a so we have a linear system to which we have given this as the input. Then what is the output? Y of t. Output y of t is, see, each h of delta of t minus tau produces h tau of t. So the response to this unit impulse is this. So x of tau is just a number. It is some number multiplied by the shifted unit impulse. So its output is this. So because of linearity property, your output is a linear combination of outputs for each of the individual inputs, right? So yeah, so now we have the equation. Because of linearity, so the response of a linear system having impulse response, okay, we need not having impulse response h of t, okay, I'm just the response of a linear system having impulse response h of t to x of t is now, okay, now we considered only the linear system. Now consider a system, we'll be considering what is time invariant system. Okay, now let's pause here a moment, and so we consider only a linear system and we found out its response to x of t. We found out its response to, okay, so let me write this note that h of t is response of the system to delta of t, and h of tau of t is the response of the system to delta of t minus tau, right? So these two things are very important. Don't get confused between these two things. Okay, fine. So now with this background, let's go to another kind of system, which is a time invariant system. So now it's time to define what is a time invariant what is a time invariant system is, okay, in a time invariant system, if the input is delayed by some units in time, if the input is shifted in time, the output is shifted correspondingly. If x of t produces an output y of t, then x of t minus t naught produces an output y of t minus t naught. That's it. So let me, a system is called time invariant. I'm just looking for the most accurate definition. If a time shift in the input signal results in say I'm considering a time invariant system. So in a time invariant system, If I give x of t, I'll get y of t. Then if I give the input is shifted by t naught units, then I will get a corresponding output shifted by t naught units of time. That's it. Right? So if the input is shifted by t naught units in time, the output is also shifted by t naught units in time. So that is time invariant system. So definition is a system is called time invariant if a time shift in the input results, let's call produces results. Results is a better word. Input results in a corresponding time shift in the output. So a corresponding time shift. So if y of t, as I have shown here in diagram, if x of t is the input and y of t is the output, and when I delay the input x of t by t naught units, then output will also be delayed by t naught units. That means if I give if this is the input, if this is the input and this input produces an output 0 to let's say this is some finite unit, like what should I call it? Say 5 units, say 0 to 5 units, 0 to 5 seconds. And if I delay this impulse, if I apply this impulse at tau, then what should I get? I should get this entire output should be shifted by tau units. So this is tau plus 5. So its response is of course there won't be any okay okay, sorry, so this is a very unrealistic system. So let me write down the response of a more realistic system. So this is 5 units, right? So this is the response when I apply. This is the impulse response for the impulse applied at time t equal to 0. Then what we get is So this is tau plus 5. So the response of the system simply gets shifted in time. This is delta of t minus tau. Right? So this is a time invariant system. So in a time invariant system, h of tau of t is h of t minus tau. Why? Because we have said that h of this is the response of the system for delta of t minus tau. Right? Okay, let me write this down. So consider a time invariant system with impulse response h of t. Right? This means that delta of t produces h of t. Okay, and then we are saying that delta of t minus tau produces h tau of t. Right? So the response to delta of t minus tau, we are denoting that with h of tau of t, h tau of t. But as the system is as the system is time invariant, delta of t minus tau should produce h of t minus tau. Hence, h tau of t is equal to h of t minus tau for a time invariant system. Right? Now let's go back to our equation. What is our equation? Y of t is minus infinity to plus infinity, x of tau, h tau of t, d tau. Now I can write this as h of minus infinity to plus infinity, h of tau, x of tau, h of t minus tau, d tau. Right? So this is the final equation that we wanted for a linear time invariant system. So I'm just summarizing. I'm just summarizing whatever we discussed today, so that we can stop this class after this summary. That we have a signal which can be expressed as x of tau delta of t minus tau d tau. We have a, so this is the signal. Okay, so this is the signal, and we have a system. We have a system having produced h of t for delta of t, and for delta of t minus tau, the system produces output h tau of t. Now, if the system is linear, then for input x of t, it produces output y of t. That y of t is equal to x of tau, h of tau of t, d tau. So if the system is linear, this is only if the system is linear, this is the output. Now, if the system is time invariant, now if the system is linear and time invariant, then h tau of t is equal to h of t minus tau, and the output y of t becomes x of tau, h of t minus tau, d tau. Yeah. So if the system is linear, the output will be the output will be this x of tau, h tau of t, d tau. But if the system is linear and also time invariant, so when the system is also time invariant, then h tau of t becomes h of t minus tau. Why? Because if it is time invariant, then if I shift the input by tau units, output will also get shifted by tau units, right? Then I'll get we'll get this, we will get the output as this. So this is the response of a linear time invariant system. So response of a linear time invariant. So the system is linear and time invariant. The response of a linear time invariant system having its impulse